What's up, guys? This is one part of an 8-part series of my first listen of the concept album The Wall by Pink Floyd. What I'll be trying to do is explore the themes and the music as I hear them. Hope you guys enjoy the experience. Here we go, part 8. This is Waiting for the Worms. So you're going to hear a little bit of the last track as well. I'm curious to see how this thing ends, man. He's got the adoring fans screaming for him, but he's empty. He's got a wall in front of him. He doesn't feel any of it. You can't reach me. It doesn't matter how hard you shout. He's an empty shell. I have to say, Roger Waters has done a fantastic job on this track of this album, I should say, of really pushing out further beyond his singing I've heard on previous songs. He's done a great job of trying to extend himself, but Gilmour for me is the superior vocalist, and every time he comes back into the music once more, I'm always looking forward to that voice, man. He's got such a fantastic voice. He's got a bunker behind the wall now. Waiting for the worms to come. Not only is there a wall, he's got another layer now. Perfect isolation. Talk about comfortably numb. Isn't this interesting? How many callbacks they do? This is kind of a callback to the sounds of the marching, droning robots of Another Brick in the Wall, part 2 at least. Now he's an adult. That theme's come back again. Fantastic use of callbacks throughout this thing. His childhood is an imprint he can never run from. His childhood keeps on coming up. The melody, a call back to in Brick in the Wall part 2, right? I thought I was on the money with the idea of this sounding like that track. The melody comes back again. We heard that in another solo. I can't remember what it was from now. It was one of the other tracks that I call back to that. See how it keeps repeating in. I love that. Would you like to say our colored cousins home? Interesting. I think what the band is at least attempting to try and suggest is how a person who's become so bitter, of course we've had an explanation of why, there's real reasons. They set it up all through the previous tracks, right? As someone who becomes bitter and turns into this kind of homophobic, racist person. And they've done it in such a great way because instead of just chastising, you understand this man, why he's come to be this way, right? Whereas other forms of art would just present him in a very two-dimensional way. Yeah, what he's saying is bad, but you empathize with his kind of devilish nature because you see where he's come from, how he's ended up to become this terrible person.
My friend, all you need to do is
Now, this track really, really hits home, dude. What a brilliant track. Now, some of you guys know who follow the channel. I am a history buff. I love history. One of the things that I feel in like English or like modern English history that's not taught a lot is like the plight of like South Asians who came to this country. It's not really talked about a lot. My father went through this issue. This right here, man, it hits home so deep. I think what he's trying to do is essentially suggest the mind state of a racist. Some of these guys who were part of the National Front, these are the guys that my dad had to kind of deal with. My dad was like attacked several times as a young man living in London, in East London particularly. He's saying Brixton for a reason. If for those who don't know, I know I have a lot of fans who watch from the States. East London and South London have been like notorious, especially East London was a home for South Asians who came to this country when the England or the UK had a call for cheap labor. They needed cheap labor to come to this country. You had a lot of Jamaicans, Africans and South Asians who came to this country at that time, and they landed in Brixton, which is South London, East London, Tower Hamlets. This is where I'm from. And then he's talking about the marches, right? He's saying that the worms will be convening outside Brixton bus station and will be moving along. And then he's describing a kind of march around these different areas. Lambeth Road, you know, these are like all the way to Westminster Borough area, and then we might encounter some Jews along the way. This is deep, dude. This is really deep. They were chanting, time to clean up the city. Wow, that was a incredibly deep song. Okay, we're about to go into Stop. I'll make that as part of the last series of tracks, but if we just go over what we just kind of seen that's happened to this guy, they kind of transitioned from what would have been the rock star, right? And he's turned into this bitter dude, and he's now kind of joined this, I guess, like National Front or the EDL marches or something like that. He's at least turned into a very bitter racist man. One of the crazy parts was when he was talking about, regardless, on to the next. We have Stop. You can hear a little bit perhaps of the last track too, which was Waiting for the Worms. Which is a really, really deep song. It hit home for me specifically.
Take off this uniform and leave the show. But I'm waiting in this cell because I have to know. Have I been guilty all this time?
Okay, leading on from the last track where it seemed to be this kind of uprising, this revolt that happened. A bunch of people got together and they're trying to get rid of any people who they considered other where they are. They talked about Brixton doing this march, getting rid of the Jews and the he used a terrible word, he used the coons as well. He seems to be on trial for the things that he just did. So this is like a lead on. What a crazy story. So complex, so twisting. Yeah, he's on trial. He's on trial for what he's done.
caught red-handed showing feelings of an almost human nature.
That's deep.
This will not do. Call the schoolmaster!
He's been caught red-handed showing feelings. This shows you the mind state of this empty shell of a person. You know, no weakness. You can't be showing feelings. This is wrong. And then the call back to the schoolmaster. Again, the everlasting imprint of his childhood, of those terrible days he spent in his education.
I always said it come to no good, did me and your honor. Then let me have my way. I couldn't bleed her into sheep. But our hearts were tied, the bleeding hearts and artists way I'm going. We must have let me hammer him today. Crazy toys in the attic, I am crazy. Truly gone fishing. They must have taken my marbles away.
That's a great way to say I've lost my mind. They must have taken my marbles away. Great writing there, right? He's setting up this idea of being a child and having toys, and then they must have taken my marbles away. So, of course, a phrase, English phrase, I'm pretty sure, like he's lost his head.
You little shit, you're in it now. I hope they throw away the key. You should have talked to me more often than you did, but no, you had to go your own way. Have you broken any homes up lately? Just 5 minutes, Worm, Your Honor. Him and me alone.
This is a bonkers track. All the kind of previous people of his life are coming up, right? His wife, who he broke up with, he left in that phase of the story, which we were in America, and he was phoning home and she wasn't picking up. You have the schoolmaster, which is a callback to the education part of it. You have his mother, who of course was overbearing in his life. So you have all these people who are part of this trial.
Crazy over the rainbow, I am crazy. Bars in the window. There must have been a door there in the wall when I came in. Over the rainbow, he is crazy.
The evidence before the court is incontrovertible. There's no need for the jury to retire.
Call back to the melody of another brick in the wall. Once again,
In all my years of judging, I have never heard before of someone more deserving of the full penalty of law. The way you made them suffer your exquisite wife, mother, fills me with the urge to duplicate. Since, my friend, you have revealed your deepest fear, I sentence you to be exposed before your peers.
whoa, that's deep. That's deep, right? Because in normal life, like the worst kind of sentence they can give you is solitary confinement, to be isolated from others. Well, it turns out this dude, Mr. Pink, that's actually what he's created for himself in his life. His worst fear is to be exposed to others, have all his weaknesses shown to everyone. And here we are. This is his judgment that the judge has laid upon him. He's completely lost his mind. This whole thing might be just in his head. We are so far gone from reality. Even in the music, it's all kind of crazy music. The wall has crumbled down. If you ask me, all of this phase is in his insanity. I don't think any of this part is real. After Comfortably Numb, in my opinion, the rest of it is perhaps all just in his mind. That sounds like a big wall if you ask me. It's still falling over. He built it up to be that high.
All alone or in twos, the ones who really love you walk up and down outside the wall. Some hand in hand, and some gathered together in bands. The bleeding hearts and the artists make their stand. And when they've given you their all, some stagger and fall. After all, it's not easy. Banging your heart against some mad bugger's wall.
Wow. What a kind of crazy trip through this guy's life and this guy's mind to end here in this really abstract place now, I feel like. The walls have come down. Did he say in the end? Did I miss something? Oh, no quarters about to kick in. Okay, let's see what he said. Oh, isn't this where we came in? Interesting. Okay, yeah, this is a callback to the end. I mean, they like to do that. Dark Side of the Moon had the same thing, where it kind of ended in a way where it started, right? It's a cyclic nature to it. Okay, that was a intense listen. Incredibly bending, twisting, conceptually brilliant album, and it's very rare you get to experience something like this because normally you're distracted, and because I have this channel, I'm kind of by nature forced to sit here and really take this all in. So I'm very happy about that. I wouldn't have had this experience otherwise. I'm gonna say two things to end this thing. One, what a fantastical story. We've kind of seen the chronological timeline of this man's life explained to so thoroughly how he became who he is. I don't think any other form of art, I don't say any other, but very few were able to fully describe the nuances and how someone's come to be the way they are like this one did. We saw all of it. His father's loss, his mother's overbearingness, terrible education system, and the little stories in between all of that, the callbacks, the repetitions of the themes. You only get this kind of depth from novels. Something like Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky's Notes from the Underground, where it really kind of goes into the character of a man. Some incredible themes discussed throughout. Now, I'll say this is the second part of it, and this is the end. This is the album review. I will say, I think if the album ends, this might be controversial. If the album ends after Comfortably Numb, this album is a 10 out of 10. Perhaps one of the greatest things I've ever heard. That last side of the album, it kind of dragged it a little bit. I was saying that after Comfortably Numb, we get into this place where it's kind of fantastical. Imagine this album where it ends at Comfortably Numb with that final remnants of who he is kind of leaving him with the guitar solo, and it finishes there. I feel like the album ends stronger. My one bad takeaway is I think after the show must go on and onwards, it's a little bit superfluous. Kind of went into this crazy place where he became a bitter kind of racist man. He told this story of this trial. I feel like all of that was unnecessary and didn't really add to the themes or this brilliantly told story. It was so much tighter. If it ends at Comfortably Numb, it's so much tighter, and therefore some people hate this, but this is just how I enjoy. It's all just fun to compare and contrast. I feel like Dark Side of the Moon is the better album between the two that I've heard so far. Brilliant album, I love it still. But it was just so much tighter. This one story kind of meandered a little bit. I felt my energy kind of go down after Comfortably Numb because some of the music didn't connect to me as much. Still interesting, but track 19 and before, it was just tight. It was tight and the story was told so well and directly. The music was fantastic. And he went into this kind of abstract place after Comfortably Numb. But that's just my one negative of the whole thing. Otherwise, it's still a brilliant experience. I'll say a good 9 out of 10 still. 9 or 8 out of 10 in total. Loved it. A bunch of different themes. I'm excited to hear the next Pink Floyd album. It'll probably be The Wall, the next one that I visit. But all in all, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this whole thing. It was a fascinating listen. Hopefully you guys took away something from it, from my sort of analysis of the whole thing. Thank you guys so much for watching.